Okay, hi. Great to be here. Thanks, Enrique and Team Hacking HR for this platform. I'm Soundari Mukherjee, organizational consultant, business storytelling coach, faculty mentor, and CEO at Soundbites Level. Um, I help leaders and teams drive business outcomes, build a personal brand, and be more human at work through storytelling. Building culture, it is said, is like creating a movie, putting together different scenes to improve the culture. Have you worked with someone who seems to have a magical effect on your team? Someone who, irrespective of where they are in the organizational hierarchy, contributes in a way that moves things forward for the team. And you come out of interacting with them thinking, hey, I want to be that person. I call these people culture builders. A culture builder is someone who chooses to intentionally shape and influence the culture of their team or company. The world is facing a leadership crisis. 70% of the leaders think they are doing a great job engaging with the people, and yet 88% of the employees say their leaders don't engage enough. And more than $46 billion are spent every year on leadership development, and yet people centricity remains a word on the wall. But when you intentionally build, steer, and support your culture to thrive, aligning it to your strategy and your big, bold goals, it becomes a key lever of engagement, positive performance, and long time wins. Get the culture right, and everything falls into place, said Tony Say. Which begs the question, if culture is so powerful, why is it still so often ignored? Well, that's because it's hard to implement. Most culture change efforts fall short of expectations. Ajay Banga, the former CEO of MasterCard, said, culture doesn't just come because you wave a magic wand. It comes through hard work. It comes through sharing. It comes through cross fertilization of people and ideas. The good news is, all of us are leaders and all of us can build the culture. They who own lead. With this in mind, I'll share 3 points and 3 examples on how you can be a culture builder. Let's call it the MBT, making it personal, being the change, and taking action. Okay, make it personal. What does that look like? Bringing your whole self in is relevant even more so now. And let me share what I mean by this with an example. In 2017, Samit Sani was working as a security guard in London's Heathrow Airport. He was one saying laptops out, iPads out, in the plastic trays and all that. He was on a low wage scale and he and his family were struggling to make ends meet. He and his wife shared a room with their 2 young children in his mother's house. Now, regardless of his wage, Samit was very passionate about his work. He had worked at the airport for many years and held a few different roles. And he started noticing the inefficiencies in the way which airports operate. One evening, he saw this YouTube video on something called Power Apps. It's one of Microsoft's products within the Microsoft Product 365 suite. He started doing a little bit more exploring and he tried looking at what paper based processes he could make digital. One of the processes that he was really responsible for was when an item is confiscated, they have to write the name and description of the item on a piece of paper, and then that would be stapled to a bag and be sent for storage. The problem is that the paper could get lost, or if it goes out in the rain, the ink would run. So it was a highly inefficient way of doing things. So Samit looked at processes and tried to map it to digital technologies using Power Apps. And at the next team meeting, he went to see his boss and showed his boss all the work that he had been doing. His boss thought that it was absolutely incredible. It would save time and money and really improve customer experience across Heathrow airports. His boss said, take a month off from the security team, out of checking baggages, and I want you to go all around all of the other terminals and start looking at where you can improve right across the security teams. Samit soon received a call from the airport's IT department back at the headquarters, and to his surprise, He didn't know who was calling him, so he goes into the meeting a little bit apprehensive, thinking, what have I done wrong? Have I broken something? The IT guy said, Samit, we've heard what you've done, and that is absolutely incredible. We'd love you to take on a secondment to the IT team. And he now runs a team developing power apps for use across the airport. And the joy didn't stop there. In 2018, Samit received a call from Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft. Satya said, we've heard about the work you're doing at Heathrow, and I want you to present on stage with me at the Inspire conference at Las Vegas. As Samit says, I didn't want to just make a living, I wanted to make a difference. So how can you be that person who takes initiative, changes things for the better? How can you be a culture builder by making it personal? I want to talk a little bit more about being the change and what that looks like. Garrett Reisman, who's a NASA astronaut and senior advisor at SpaceX, he says that there is a natural human tendency to clamp down on change out of fear. But some of our biggest failures occurred because we don't make that change. So how can you be the person making that change? Let me tell you about Sam Beer. Sam Beer is a bright and energetic young man from New Jersey. Since his teenage years, he had one seemingly simple goal to land a job. Even though Sam's autism diagnosis meant he approached life a little bit differently, he knew he could contribute if he had the right opportunity. But along with almost 85% of autistic adults who experience unemployment, 24-year-old Sam started to feel that his dream was slipping away. Then one day, Sam's dad, Steve, had an epiphany while passing a popcorn store in East Brunswick, which had a for sale sign. And he thought, okay, paired with Sam's passion and talent, America's favorite snack could become popcorn with a purpose. 6 years later, the Beer family's non-profit, Popcorn for the People, employs 30 autistic adults, 21 to 56 years old, providing each person the opportunity to succeed while deepening their dignity and self-reliance in the process. So, Beer's family story can be one where work is a great force for personal transformation when you choose to make the change. So, how can you be a culture builder by being the change? And the third, taking action. What does taking action even look like? And I want to tell you about Kim Goucher, Canadian basketball player who was faced with a tough choice before the Tokyo Olympics. The IOC had previously stipulated that no family could travel to Tokyo due to COVID-19 restrictions, and Kim was still breastfeeding her infant daughter. That meant she could be prevented from going for that reason. The 37-year-old from Mission, BC made an emotional plea via Instagram in June 2021, saying the IOC was forcing her on to make a tough choice: skip the Olympics or spend 28 days in Tokyo without her daughter, who she was still breastfeeding. And she pointed out that Japanese fans are going to be in attendance, the arena is going to be half full, and I will not have access to my daughter. And she tried various appeals. She said, let's see if we can make a difference. It's 2021. Let's make working moms normal. Luckily, because of all the noise that was created in social media and because of Kim Boucher's presence, which was going to be a big boost to the team, the Olympic Committee reviewed the situation based on all this, and it allowed breastfeeding moms to bring their children to Tokyo. This meant that she could go with her daughter, 3-month-old daughter, Sophie, to the games. And, being a mom is really hard, but it's one of the best jobs that she could have had. And she said to all the working moms, I think it's a good day for women in sports today when the announcement came in. So how can you be that person who takes the initiative and changes things for better? How can you be a culture builder by taking action? We know that organizational culture is subjective. It's the mood in the room, perhaps a feeling of pressure or psychological safety that is shaped by the personalities and behaviors of those who work there. But culture building requires resilience and vulnerability. Let's focus on culture add and not culture fit. And to succeed, everybody from CEO down to the last person in the organization must be involved. And it means everybody needs to pull their weight. And it is not enough. Typically, if a senior person is willing to be accountable for maintaining the focus over time, but you still need a team of culture builders behind them. So, how can we as a company and of course as the world right now needs more of culture building? More people making it personal, bringing their best selves in such difficult moments and inviting others to join. More people joining in the conversation and taking action. And most people being the change and able and willing to see what is happening, welcome it, adapt to it without getting sidetracked. And this not just once a year at an offsite or a team building event, but every day. And each and every one of us can be a culture builder when we are faced with a culture that's changing, when we become aware of how we are relating, we are faced with a choice. We can reinforce the bad or go and make that difference. And telling positive culture building stories is so much easier and more pleasant than policing people into culture building. That's because what we pay attention to expands. Stories about people we work with inspire us and challenge us to be better, creating a positive feedback loop. So, what kind of culture are you committed to creating on your team and in your organization? Are you a culture builder? Then you are a leader. Here's to even more better future of work, one where we can all experience the transformative power of setting things in motion, striving, growing, and thriving. Thank you and have a great day at the conference and looking forward to joining from the other end.